Hello, hello. What's going on out there? Yes, I'm still reading The Warmth of Other Suns, and I wanted to share just two quick little, I guess you can say, paragraphs or passages that I thought were interesting. I'm going to just go ahead and get into it and start. I hope y'all having a great evening. Let's start. Then on the humid night of Sunday, June 20th, 1943, a fight broke out between several hundred white and colored men on Belle Isle, a park extending into the Detroit River on the east side of town. The fighting spread north, south, and west as rumors circulated among blacks that white men had killed a colored woman and thrown her baby into the Detroit River, and among whites that colored men had raped and killed a white woman in the park. Neither rumor turned out to be true, but it was all that was needed to set off one of the worst riots ever seen in the United States, an outbreak that would mark a turning point in American race relations. Rumors, guys. You gotta be careful with the rumors. Now, I was asking myself, why was it that this rumor helped set this riot off? And for me, I was thinking to myself, and I came to the conclusion that, well, of course, that rumor that, a colored woman and her baby were killed by white people and a white woman was raped by a colored man, of course, those rumors would set off both groups. Because of what? Because of the history both groups have with each other. I mean, if I was to keep reading, you'll see until the 1943 uprising in Detroit, most riots in the United States, from the 1863 draft riots all the way to Tulsa, 1921, Atlanta, 1906, Washington, D.C., Chicago, Springfield. You see, whites and blacks have this history, this long history of, interacting with one another in the worst kind of way, And so it was easy to spread a rumor, to have both groups get into it with each other, even though the rumor turned out to be untrue. It didn't matter because of the history between the groups, that it was going to easily set it off, and it did, really amazing stuff. And this history, it can be tough to get into and to digest, but it's so important to learn the history of where you're from and where your parents grew up. Speaking of parents, I want to go to the next passage I want to share. It's kind of long, so bear with me. This one reminds me of my father, and I'm going to share why. Okay, it goes. He had gotten used to carrying himself in a different way, talking to white people as equals in Detroit. Now that he was back in Eunice, he made a point to do whatever he could to keep from addressing white people as sir or ma'am. They'd say, so and so boy. He said, I would never say yes, sir, or no, sir. I'd say, that's right. Sure, certainly. What you mean by certainly? Would come the indignant reply. You don't know how to say yes, sir? A colored teacher who had finished the University of Michigan ran into the same trouble in Mississippi at around the same time. He needed to send a wire to a colleague and went into a drugstore to do so. The drugstore owner asked where the wire was going. Do they have a phone there? The druggist asked. Yes, they do, the colored teacher replied. Do they have a phone there? The druggist asked again. Yes, they have a phone, the colored teacher said, wondering why the druggist hadn't understood him the first time. God damn it, when you talk to a white man, you say, sir. So with this one reminded me of my father. I'll never forget back in my 20s when I was trying to apply for jobs and, go through interviews, I would always, present myself as respectable and as someone who wants to, get hired. So I would talk to the people and to the boss, and I would always say, sir, this and sir, that. And one day my father heard me, and he said, Sam, why you always say yes, sir, and all this, and yes, this, and yes, sir, this? But he never really broke it down to me. He never really told me why that bothered him. And now I see it's like him being from the South, he had the context and was aware of how serious it was to address white folks with yes, sir, and no, sir. But for me, growing up in the city, growing up in California, born and raised, I didn't grow up with that same context. So for me, I saw, saying yes, sir, as just a way of being respectful and to show them that I'm serious and that I have manners and that I really want the job. But I didn't see it as, I'm bowing down to the white man, or I'm, I must say this or I'll get in trouble. But my dad, he really had a problem with me saying that, but he never really expressed or explained why it was a problem. He just showed me that it was a problem. So very interesting, very interesting. This book, man, is pretty amazing. Like I said, it's pretty tough to get through because it's hitting home, man. It's so close to home because my father, he was born in the 30s, and like I said, he pretty much experienced most of the stuff that's in this book. So great read so far. I'm gonna keep going and keep chugging along. I'm gonna try to keep vlogging myself reading this, so that way I'll kind of be, I kind of will have YouTube kind of hold me accountable for staying on top of it and chugging along. But yeah, good book so far. Right now, I'm just watching a movie. It's called Hyenas, as you guys can see, and it's a really interesting movie. It's about the shopkeeper who has a terrible past. He was dealing with this one woman. They were like both poor, and he chose a different woman because she had money. And the woman that was poor, she went and left, and now she's coming back, and she's coming back to town as a wealthy woman. And the guy that left her, he's still there, but he's a shop owner, but he's poor. And these guys they're walking now into his shop now. But so she's coming back to visit the town, and she's very wealthy, and she ends up treating this guy who abandoned her. She ends up giving him, a tough ordeal, but it's pretty interesting. It's very beautifully shot. I think it came out in like the early 90s, but I'm just watching this right now. But yeah, I just wanted to share what I'm reading and what I'm watching, and I'm gonna try to be more, consistent with videos and putting stuff out. And sharing what I'm watching and sharing what I'm reading. You guys have a good night. Stay tuned, and I will catch you on the next